let's just be honest and say that nobody likes doing team building exercises, and the only thing that is worse than team building exercises is possibly a weekend of team building exercises, maybe in a different country, in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's the starting point for today's movie, Severance from 2006. I would quit before I even got on the plane. A team-building weekend in the mountains of Eastern Europe goes horribly wrong for the sales division of a multinational weapons company when they become victims of a group of crazed killers who hunt them down one by one. As always here on my channel, I'm going to go and watch Severance from 2006 off camera, so that way if you too want to watch this movie, nothing will be spoilt for you. Nobody wants to watch a movie that they have just watched somebody else watch from start to finish.
While also enduring death-defying team-building trust exercises.
Alonso has come a long way since Cruella de Vil went back to prison. Now normally I find British horror comedies to be funnier because, surprise, I live in England. But half of this humour doesn't quite fit for me, and that is because it reminds me very much of The Office, which is a TV show that I've never got the hype behind it. Of course, there are moments that I find funny in this, because half of it I don't find funny because it's The Office, but the other half, particularly the character of Gordon, and one moment with a diving board, which I will not spoil, because oh boy did I laugh unnecessarily hard at that scene. Having worked in food retail in my early 20s, I can honestly say that I have worked with somebody who matches every single one of these characters, and I think that most people will be able to say the same with this. Richard, who is the group leader, is like the guy who purposely tries to not say anything inappropriate and then ends up saying things that are way more inappropriate by accident, you know, so he's digging his own grave the entire time. Then you've got Maggie, and Maggie is the hot co-worker, so to speak, that all the guys kind of have a thing for or have crushes on. She's played by Lauren Harris, and if you know who that is, you know exactly why they cast her in this movie. She is the only American to start off with amongst a group of Brits. Steve is like the sort of lad's lad who tends to do things like he's still in high school. Like, he's played by Danny Dyer. Like, again, they knew exactly who they were casting for this part. Harris is like a Hugh Grant sort of personality on a budget. Then you've got Jill, who is like the voice of reason, who calls things out that are super obvious but nobody else, you know, wants to state. And then you've got Billy, who is like the token person of colour, who they even talk about being the token person of colour and calling out this kind of like ridiculous like stereotype and like, why can't people just have jobs because they are the right person for the job kind of scenario. So yes, the movie is very much in on the joke when it comes to Billy being this like stereotype. And then there's Gordon, and Gordon's my favourite, and he shouldn't be, because he is everything that I should hate in a co-worker. He is the like boss-pleasing, rule-loving, like fun-sucking little cretin in the group who loves a clipboard. He's that guy. But he does some of the stupidest things, and I can't help but like him because of how funny he is. Danny Dyer in this is just, it's peak Danny Dyer. We're talking like 2 years after Football Factory Danny Dyer, and he has some classic one-liners in this, and the two examples that I'm going to give are, you've got about as much chance of being shit out of a rocking horse, like that, audible laughing out loud for me at that line, because chef's kiss peak for the scenario. And the other one was, shit, I've left Gordon's leg on the coach, sorry mate. I won't say what that reference is because it's part of a big part of the storyline, but that's brilliant. The whole section with that it's great. Like, when you let Danny Dyer be funny in this like character that is very sort of like the British version of Steve Stifler from American Pie, like, it's peak Danny Dyer. Do you remember in the 2000s, the mid-2000s to be precise, when there was this like influx of movies in the horror genre where everything was trying to replicate the success of movies like Saw and Hostel, and it sort of festered this like torture porn genre. That's what it was coined. Well, Severance is that sort of horror. However, it's paired with comedy and it doesn't take itself seriously. It takes these two genres and at times it blurs the lines, and the example that I can give without going into spoilers is there is a scene that involves paintball and bear traps, and what makes this so funny is it takes that gory element of torture porn and pairs it with this like laugh out loud hysterical dialogue and slightly questionable choices in special effects, but that's what this movie does really well, when it mixes the two genres together. Now, there is a part in the movie a little bit further on where they take the comedy out of it and they let the pure horror side of this take full front and center, and it does work really well. However, they immediately follow this moment up with a like comic relief moment, and it kind of takes you out of the moment that's just happened, which involves the death of one of the characters. So it's very whiplashy at times. Plot-wise, it's this classic hunter and hunted scenario where you know at some point the tables are going to turn. It's just a waiting game, you know, for it to happen. So I can't say that it's particularly original when it comes to that side of its plot. But most movies that I have seen that fall into the hunter and hunted scenario tend to be more serious and take themselves as horror thrillers, where it's refreshing to find a movie that is absolutely self-aware of the decisions that it's making and doesn't take itself too seriously within this genre. For me, it just falls a little bit short, so in the end, I'm going to give Severance a 2.5 out of 5 stars. But I will say, if you find that the humour in the UK version of The Office works for you, then you will probably enjoy this movie more than I did. So there you have it, my initial thoughts and my opinions on Severance from 2006. If you have seen this movie, I would also like to know what your thoughts and opinions are down in the comments section down below. I will be back on Monday with a brand new solo movie review, but if you would like to know everything that I watch, not just the things I watch here on YouTube, you can also find me over on Instagram. So until next time, bye!